That's fantastic. So now I'm excited to introduce Giles Cassels from MicroPlace, who's our premier sponsor here at SOCAP. Giles leads all the marketing efforts for the MicroPlace team, and really we've been so impressed with MicroPlace as a partner. From Ashwini to Megan Fielding to Giles and the whole team, it's really all just been about the whole ecosystem and how to put a movement forward, and not MicroPlace. So before I get started, Giles asked me to read something. Our next speaker is from MicroPlace, and he asked me to warn you before he comes out here that he's a bit of a cynical optimist. He also suspects that there are a few more in this room that may have their own hard-won cynicism. He also wants to be very clear that he doesn't like words like hope and faith. But more than anything else, he wants everyone to know that although he does have an optimistic side, his greatest fear that the SOCAP formula of money plus meaning equals question mark is not a formula for success, but is doomed for failure. To explain exactly what he means by that, please give a cynical yet optimistic welcome for Giles Cassels.
Thank you very much, Corey, for that introduction. I have to say that after spending the day here today at SOCAP, and really after all the time that I've spent working with the team at SOCAP, I have to say that we feel the same way about working with them as the kind words that Corey said about us. And when I talk about being a cynical optimist, I have to admit that being here, the cynicism is kind of falling away and the optimism is winning the day, and that makes me feel very good and very proud and excited and humbled to be here. We've all come to experience poverty in different ways in our lives. And for me, it actually started with an orange. You see, I come from a very small farming town in rural Florida called Umatilla. And when I was growing up in Umatilla, the main driver of our economy was citrus. And I actually come from a citrus family. We had groves all around the region of Central Florida. And as a consequence of this, as a child, during school breaks, whether it was at Christmas break or whether it was during the spring break, when other kids were playing, relaxing, having fun at Christmas time, playing with their presents, my parents actually sent us out into work in the orange groves to pick fruit. That's not the ideal way to spend a holiday or any kind of vacation when you're a kid. But they told us that it would teach us an important lesson about character. And Zakiya just mentioned a few minutes ago the idea of hard work, and I'm here to tell you that picking oranges is extraordinarily hard work, especially in Florida. Even in the wintertime, there's basically two dominant temperatures, hot and dang, it's so hot. So you're out there working, and the sun's beating down on you. It's baking you like a turkey. The humidity is smothering you like a blanket. And when you're working in these orange trees, you're encountering bees and spiders that are nested in there. And the trees themselves have really sharp thorns to defend their fruit. You're moving and climbing these really tall, heavy wooden ladders so that you can pick, and this isn't necessarily the best representation of an orange tree, but you can pick those oranges that are up in that uppermost section. And then once that tree is picked clean, you have to go around the bottom of the tree and pick all the fruit off the ground and put it in these wooden crates. And then once those crates are full, you're taking them, lifting those heavy crates, carrying them over to another area so that they can be picked up by a tractor and carried to the factory. This is the definition of hard work. Now, for us as children, we did this about 4 to 5 hours a day, almost every day during one of these breaks from schools. And again, the idea from my parents was you kids need to learn character. But we weren't picking alone when we were in those groves. We were picking alongside migrant workers. And migrant workers don't pick fruit to build character. Migrant workers pick fruit to survive. They work from first light to last light every day, 6 days a week until all the groves are picked clean. Husbands pick beside their wives, parents pick beside their children. And they all made the same that we made as kids out there learning character, 50 cents a crate. At the end of the day, we would return to our comfortable home. They would be boarded onto buses and sent to cinder block migrant quarters, each actually smaller than a prison cell, with one window, no air conditioning. And when we would return to school and all the crops had been picked clean, they would just move on to the next section of the state, the next section of the country, to the next crop that needed to be picked. Every single person in this room, as I said, has a story to tell about how they became aware of poverty, consciousness to the challenge of poverty. And for most of us, this challenge came as an awakening. And for me, my awakening indeed did come in those orange groves in Central Florida as a child. It taught me many lessons, both at the time and in the ripples of the many years that have followed. I'm still learning lessons from this today. We've all heard the statistics about poverty. It's startling to think that in just another month, in the month of October, the total population of this planet will reach 7 billion people. It's hard to comprehend such big numbers. But let's say that this room that we're in today represents the world. This half of the room will have to make do on less than $3 a day. And it's not like the people on this half of the room are living all that comfortable either. In fact, there's probably only a couple of rows in this entire theater where people could be considered to be living comfortably. And if you're lucky, there might be one or two of you out of this entire population in the world that could be considered well off. Let's say it's the two of you. Congratulations, you're rich. But what's worse is that thousands of people are dying of poverty every single day. In fact, a child dies in poverty every 3 seconds. Think about that for a minute. A child just died. A child just died. A child just died. I think we can all agree that this is an unacceptable horror. And the growing awareness of the problem of poverty has sent many of us in this room on a journey. And the journey that we're on is one that the renowned mythologist Joseph Campbell might have considered the hero's journey. Now, the central motif of the most typical hero's journey is that there is some sort of sickness or a threat to a tribe. And so the call goes out for someone to leave the village and find that magic elixir that's going to save the day and return the tribe to normalcy and health. This is a calling that many of you have had. Poverty is threatening our planet. Probably so many people in this room have been dealing with this for such a long time. We all know that billions of lives are at stake. There is a sickness, and a call has gone out for help. And so here we are all today, in a sense, a gathering of heroes on this mythological journey, hoping to help each other find a way to bring the magic elixir to those who need it the most. Unfortunately, as is often the case in a hero's journey, there are going to be obstacles. There are going to be conflicts. In fact, before we can get our hands on that magic elixir, we're ultimately going to have to confront and then conquer the dragon. And as we all know, poverty can feel like a big, bad, scary, fire-breathing, deadly dragon. So one of the most fundamental obstacles we'll be confronted with is the answer to this question, and it's the answer that was addressed in the videos that were shown earlier. Is poverty actually a solvable problem? Let me ask that again. Is poverty actually a solvable problem? Can this dragon actually be defeated? And your answer to this question will deeply influence the progress you make on this journey that we're all on together. There are some people who believe that wholeheartedly that when it comes to this issue of poverty, the answer is easy. It's no. Poverty will never be defeated. It's an issue that will never be solved. We will always have the poor. It's too big to overcome. It's impossible. But there are another group of people who are intensely dissatisfied with that notion. And I believe there are optimistic people, determined people, not just in this room, but around the world, who are not overwhelmed by these large, seemingly insurmountable numbers. They recognize, as do we, that our world is at a turning point. For the first time in the history of humanity, we have the knowledge, we have the science, we have the technology, we have the resources, and we have the means to actually change the course of human events and bring about the eventual end of poverty once and for all. The only thing remaining is the will to actually do it. And as immense and insurmountable as these problems may seem, there are actually radical solutions already at work in the marketplace that we can employ to transform how the world advances on and ultimately conquers this dragon. That's why the company that I work for, MicroPlace, came to exist. MicroPlace was actually founded 4 years ago on the notion that charitable giving in and of itself would not be enough to ultimately solve the final problem of poverty. Despite all the amazing work being done by all kinds of companies, organizations, agencies, institutions, an important and valuable resource in the world of social capital had yet to be tapped: the everyday investor. MicroPlace believes deeply in the potential of people-powered capital. We provide the everyday investor, no matter where they may be on the income ladder, with the opportunity to invest in projects that fight poverty, that promote fair trade, that help women, and that build better and stronger communities. The teacher, the farmer, the grocer, the student, the billionaire, all can invest through MicroPlace. And here's kind of the crazy, amazing part, and it's probably a little bit controversial as well. The people that invest through MicroPlace can actually earn a profit by helping other people, by helping those in need. You invest, you help someone, you earn interest. But then here's the magical part. By reinvesting the money that you've earned, including the interest, not only can you sustain the good that you do, you can compound it so that the good you do can grow and grow and grow and grow. And what do we charge our customers to do this? Nothing. It's zero-fee investing. That's pretty cool, right? So imagine now if everyone, individuals and institutions, all started getting involved in impact investing. We want the traditional investor to realize the financial and social value of dedicating a portion of their portfolio to doing good. Just think of the progress we could make. The hundreds of billions of dollars needed to tackle the issue of poverty could be raised within just a few years. Helen Keller once said, "Until the great mass of the people shall be filled with the sense of responsibility for each other's welfare, social justice can never be attained." And this isn't some pie-in-the-sky vision speak. This is what we at MicroPlace believe. We believe that poverty is solvable. And not just through MicroPlace, of course. MicroPlace is just one of many solutions represented here today. Optimistic solutions rooted in experience and innovation and practicality. Each of us bringing something unique, something valuable to the fight. Some solutions that bridge the divide between the institutional and the individual. Individuals coming together to accomplish big goals with individual acts. This is people-powered capital. And as Corey mentioned, this is the part where I share with you why I think if we continue down this path, we just may be doomed to fail. Now, why would I say that? And I'm looking out at you now and I'm thinking, why would I say that publicly? And to answer that, I want to tell you just a little bit more about my own personal beliefs. If I'm anything in this world, I'm what the French philosopher Albert Camus referred to as the rebel. And he wasn't talking about James Dean. He wasn't talking about Arthur Fonzarelli. Camus believed that the absurdity of life is revealed in man's constant search for the meaning of life. in the face of a universe that stubbornly refuses to reveal it. In the absence of a revealed meaning, he believed in a created meaning, and from there sprang his idea of the rebel. In the absence of understanding and meaning, the ultimate act of rebellion is to live, and in living, to create meaning. And herein lies Camus' formula that, above all else, means the most to me and guides how I live in this world. I rebel. Therefore, we exist. By circumstance, humans cannot live alone. We must depend on each other. Others must depend on us. In rebellion, we choose to live. In living, we choose to live with others. In living with others, we have a responsibility to others, and with that responsibility, with that collective rebellion, comes meaning. And here's also what I believe. If we try to defeat the dragon of poverty, we will fail. Why? Because poverty isn't the disease. Poverty is merely a symptom. Poverty is just a symptom of a deeper disease. There is no dragon called poverty. Poverty is just the fire that the dragon breathes. The uncomfortable truth is that the dragon is ourselves. The dragon is our own ego. It's our own selfishness. It's the cage of our own indifference. And this is the dragon that we must defeat if we're ever going to see the world begin to take care of its own. Poverty isn't the disease. It's just a symptom. I think we all intuitively sense and intellectually understand that this is true. We wouldn't be here today unless we longed for a better way, a clearer path, a more direct route to the outcome we all hope to experience. I think everyone in this room believes that the current system that we have is not working, and there's so much more to be done. And because of this, each of us has taken on the role of the rebel, and collectively, we are the resistance. We are the rebellion. And that's what you want to be, isn't it? That's why you're here. You want to get to the root cause of issues like poverty and hunger and sickness and violence. You want to see these troubles resolved. I do too. That's why my objective is to defeat this dragon within me and say, I am the solution. I am the answer. I am the elixir. I rebel. Therefore, we exist. So today I challenge each of us, myself included, to be the rebels that we were born to be and to ignite this people-powered capital movement. I want to return very briefly to my orange. The context of my experience in those orange groves as a child was my parents teaching us a lesson about character. But as I mentioned, for the workers, they were working for the sake of survival. And it recently occurred to me that every crate that I filled in the creation of character emptied a crate that they needed to survive. Every 50 cents that went into my pocket was 50 cents that did not go into their pocket. Not only did they accept this, they actually helped me. If they saw me struggling with a ladder, they helped me move it. If they saw me struggling with a crate, they helped me lift it. And each time they did this, it was less money in their pocket. There's only one word for what they showed me: grace. So looking back, I realized that this was, in a sense, a microloan. This is a realization I had actually just as I was writing my remarks today. The people that could least afford to invest in anybody invested in me. My parents sent me into those groves to learn about character, but the workers planted a seed in me that is now able to bear fruit. And I have a debt to repay, and I intend to repay it. And ironically enough, this orange represents an opportunity to repay part of that debt, and hopefully with some interest. Here at SOCAP, MicroPlace is working with the California Freshworks Fund and with the Calvert Foundation to drive retail-level investing to provide healthy food alternatives to people living in urban food deserts and underserved communities. Art Stevens from Calvert Foundation will be following me to the podium, and he's going to talk about an action that everyone here today can take to make a real difference here in the state of California, where we're all gathered today, so that the healthy food choices that each of us takes for granted, be it fresh green vegetables or this beautiful orange, can be made available to families and children that need it the most, who currently live in a situation where healthy food is not a choice at all. This action that we, as rebels, can take can be just one step, one small step in the larger movement that we're all working within and seeking to spread to others outside this room, to spread to others around the world, where people-powered capital and institutional capital work together in concert to change the world. At the beginning of my remarks, I mentioned what happens every 3 seconds on this planet, that unacceptable horror. But what if we found a counterbalance in this rapidly growing movement of people-powered capital? What if we could say, another person joined the movement, another person joined the movement, another person joined the movement? We can be the heroes on this journey. We can defeat this dragon, and it can begin here today. We can be the change that we want to see. This band of rebels can transform the system, and we can ignite a revolution. We have to believe it's possible, and we must act. It might feel overwhelming at times. There must be so many times that the people in this room have felt overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the problem. But everyone is still here because we believe that we can do it. Because how do you fill an orange crate? One orange at a time.